What if you were condemned before you had the chance to do anything wrong at all? One Norse god was exiled for a crime that hadn't happened yet. The last and cruelest price paid among 6 gods, who bought Asgard's peace with pieces of themselves nobody remembers losing. This is what that peace actually cost. You are born of 9 mothers, and none of them stay. From your first breath, you are given one duty: watch. Not for a season, not for a lifetime, forever. You stand where the burning bridge meets the sky, and you give up sleep to do it. Your eyes reach 100 leagues. Your ears catch the sound of grass pushing through soil, of wool growing on a sheep's back a mountain away. You hear everything except your own voice, because no one is ever close enough to answer it. Once, only once, you are allowed to act instead of watch. Loki steals a necklace that isn't his, and you become a seal in dark water to take it back. For one night, you are not the guard. You are a god who fights. There is one story where you walk among mortals in disguise, fathering 3 different families that become 3 different classes of people: slave, farmer, and lord. Even your rare moment of freedom gets repurposed into someone else's order. You built a hierarchy you will spend eternity standing outside of, alone on your bridge, watching every class you made eventually die and arrive somewhere without you. Then you return to the bridge. You already know how you die, fighting the one god you have watched for an eternity, the 2 of you ending each other in the same fire that ends the world. You watch anyway. You keep watching. In this house, sacrifice never came with a reward. It came with a schedule, and you were never the one who got to write it. The second god to fall needed no monster. She needed a friend too afraid to die. Idun keeps the apples that keep every god young. Without her box, Asgard grows old in a matter of days. Everyone knows this. Loki knows this best of all. When a giant named Thjazi threatens his life, Loki does not warn her. He finds her in the golden halls and tells her of a forest with fruit finer than her own. "Bring your apples," he says, "so we can compare them." She believes him, because she has no reason not to. In the wood, there is no fruit. There is only an eagle's shadow, then the cold, sharp bite of talons closing around her ribs, then miles of freezing air rushing past. Behind her, Asgard begins to wither. Hands shake, backs bend, faces crease overnight, because the one thing that held off time just vanished into the mountains. Loki gets her back, eventually, in borrowed feathers, with a burning giant at the gate to prove it. The gods call it a rescue. Nobody asks what 9 days in a giant's fortress, waiting on a friend who sold her out, actually felt like. She never had a vote in Loki's fear, only in what it cost her. Unlike the goddess the gods forgot to value, this one was nearly destroyed for the one thing everyone admired. Sif's hair is gold, and in old Scandinavia, gold hair on a woman means status. It is the one part of her the sagas bother to describe at all. Loki cuts it off while she sleeps, the cold edge of a blade drawn slow across her scalp so she won't wake before it's done. Every strand. Snorri Sturluson calls it mischief in his telling. A prank, nothing more. But a shorn head was a punishment reserved for shame in that world, not a joke played between friends. Was it really so harmless, or is that just the version that survived? Thor wakes beside a wife he barely recognizes, and his fury is instant. He seizes Loki by the throat and promises to break every bone in his body. Loki, choking on his own trick, begs for one chance to fix it. He runs to the dwarves below the earth, and they forge hair of real gold that will grow like her own, along with a spear and a hammer that will end up in greater hands than his. Later, at a feast, Loki taunts her again, leaning close enough for only her to hear. I need not guess who else has warmed this hall's most treasured bed besides Thor. Nobody defends her reputation the way they defended her hair. Some wounds only get repaired when the gods can see them. The rest she was left to carry alone. But this time, grief came armed. You are the daughter of a giant the gods have just killed, and you do not come to Asgard to mourn. You come in full war gear, a spear in your hand, ready to take a life for a life. The gods do not want this fight. They offer you compensation instead. Your father's eyes cast into the night sky, a place among them, and a husband of your choosing. There is one condition. You may only look at his feet. You scan the row of legs in front of you and choose the fairest pair. I choose this one, you say. Surely these are Baldur's feet. You are wrong. The feet belong to Njord, a sea god twice your age, ruler of a warm shore you have never wanted to see. You marry him anyway. 9 nights in your frozen mountains, and he calls the wolves unbearable. 9 nights at his coast, and you call the gulls worse. Neither of you bends. The peace they gave you in place of blood turns out to be its own kind of loss, the kind where you win the argument and still go home alone. Like her, this god also lost a home for love. The difference is, nobody ever calls it a tragedy. Njord did not choose Asgard either. He arrives as a hostage, the brine-thick air of a coastline he's leaving behind still clinging to him, his son and a wise companion sent with him as proof of good faith. The trade cuts both ways. When the Vanir discover they've been given a fool who only sounds wise beside a smarter friend, they cut off that friend's head and send it back as a message. Odin keeps the head, preserves it with charms, and uses it for counsel for the rest of his reign. Njord says nothing. He has already lost more than his freedom coming here. Before he ever set foot in Asgard, he had a wife back home, his own sister, a bond lawful among the Vanir and forbidden among the Aesir. At a feast, Loki throws this in his face in front of every god in the hall. Njord answers back, low and even. Mock me all you like. I fathered gods before I ever needed your approval. Then comes Skadi, and the same story again. A home he cannot share, a peace he cannot make. Twice, Njord marries for the sake of Asgard's comfort. Twice, Asgard's comfort cost him a family. None of the first 5 chose their fate. The 6th was condemned, before she could choose anything at all. You are born half flesh, half something already gone cold, and that is the whole of your crime. No betrayal, no broken oath, just a prophecy that says what you might become someday. Odin hears it, and acts before you take a single step. Your brothers are bound and drowned in the sea. You are thrown down into the mist of Niflheim, and told this is now your kingdom, forever. They dress the sentence up as a gift. 9 worlds of the dead placed under your hand. A hall with high walls and grand gates, a bed called disease, a threshold called stumbling, a whole household built entirely out of the things people fear most. You did not ask for any of it. You did not do anything to earn it either, not the punishment, and not the power that came wrapped around it. Half of you stays warm. Half of you never will. And every soul that reaches your gate arrives already knowing your name before they ever hear your side of the story. When the end finally comes, you will not attack out of hatred. You will sail out on a ship built from dead men's nails, leading every soul Asgard refused to look at twice, because no one ever gave you a reason to protect a world that only ever gave you its worst. Asgard called it peace. It was survival, paid for by whichever god had the least power to refuse. Heimdall lost his freedom. Idun lost her trust. Sif lost her safety. Skadi and Njord lost their homes. Hel lost her chance to be anything else. If this was justice, whose justice was it? Subscribe for the gods history keeps rewriting.